And engaging a strategic ecosystem is very, very important because people are buying outcomes. Outcomes come through a suite of tech products, which essentially are playbooks that large tech companies deploy. And if you're a missing piece in the playbook, that's how you get acquired, right? You need to solve business problems. The deployment, that expense needs to make money, right? Save money, what have you, right? You need great customer success. You just need to have a product that's safe, scalable, secure, delightful to use. You need great company culture. You need to keep a company monetized, which means all the foundations of company building haven't gone away. If you're solving a problem for the largest enterprise on the planet, so be it. Then you agree to live with the pain and you work your way around it, right? Which is the kind of investors you get, the kind of partners you get, how you do your route to market, all of that is basis that.
Hey folks, welcome back to yet another episode on the Founders Playbook by the Product Folks. Today we have the pleasure of hosting Vinod Muthukrishnan, who's the founder of Cloudcherry, which he exited to Cisco. Right from his early days as a merchant navy officer to building successful startups and now leading innovations across the cloud infrastructure, it has been a very, very interesting journey that we're going to uncover in today's episode. Lots of tactical advices if you are an early stage builder or you are leading teams. This is a very, very interesting episode. Stay tuned. Let us know what you think about it. Let's jump right in. Hey, Vinny, thanks again. First of all, I know it's been a long time in the plan. So I'm very excited to chat with you over the next 60. And for everyone tuning in case you're starting up, in case you're looking to build a career here in the Valley, the next 60 minutes are going to be very exciting for you. Lots of tactical advice is something I can assure you. With every conversation I've had with Vinny, I've walked away with something. It's a very interesting journey. First of all, the transition into tech, growing across both borders, and now setting up something in the Valley. I think you're going to have a great time. Vinny, before we jump into your startup building experience with Cloudcherry, then again transitioning into very large companies, I'd love to start right from the early days. I know you spent a decade at the seas as a merchant navy officer. How did that happen? What were those days like?
So my father was an army officer. He's a Shaurya Chakra awardee, so come from a defense background. Very proud of him. My brother joined the Navy. He is a captain in the Navy, so he's still serving, right? So for me, the choice literally was between the NDA and the Merchant Navy, and I wanted to join the Merchant Navy because I wanted to see the world and all of that. And we had a little family meeting, and it was decided that okay, dad's in the army, brother's in the Navy. It's okay if you don't join the NDA and go to the Merchant Navy. So it was a consensus kind of decision, and I really wanted that. I wanted to be in uniform. I wanted to um, have not do the stereotypical job, and yet I wanted to see the world. So it kind of gave me the best of both worlds. Ended up spending 9 years in the Merchant Navy, and if I had to go back in time, I'd never change a thing because those were incredible formative years.
Very interesting. Um, how did that transition happen, right? Like, I think early days, I know a lot of what you're doing today probably goes back. Like, it's not easy being at the sea for that long, then coming back. So I'm sure life is very different there. Exciting in those times, but where did the bug for okay, hey, this is where my journey as a merchant navy officer stops, and here's where I transition into more of a business world.
So the interesting part is, it seemed like fun and games till you're 18 years old, and you join C, and you're not treated like an 18-year-old kid, right? You're treated as a grown up, and it's a pretty harsh environment. Very rewarding, but it's hard work. Harsh as in hard work, right? Culturally, I think it's a great place. So I was committed to the cause. Like I had no plans to do anything else, but I'd always wondered what else could have been. And I met a classmate of mine from school who was a born entrepreneur. Like, the kind of guy who, in his 10th standard, after the exams break, sets up a tiny little business, right? He didn't even go to college. He started his first venture, proper venture, soon after school, did his, I think, BCom or BBA by correspondence. So he always wanted to be an entrepreneur, right? So he had started a startup just about then. I was on leave. The fun side fact is my ex-fiancée and I had just broken up. So I had 3 months of leave and precious little to do. So he said, I know you're jobless sitting at home. So why don't you come meet me? So I met him and his co-founder. It was a friendly catch-up. They just wanted to talk to me. Over the next 2 days, that conversation went in many directions. At the end of which, he said, "Why don't you join the founding team of my startup?" And I want you to know how little I knew about tech, because ships then didn't even have internet. Like thrice a day, you connect to the satellite, download emails into a common ship's inbox. And then, if you have an email, it's tagged to you and the captain prints it and gives it to you, right? So it's um, today there's streaming internet, right? It's not the same there. So you're very cut off from what's happening in the world. You're not on the vanguard of tech, so to speak. But so when he said join this company, I said, "What do you think I'll do?" And he said, "You should do business strategy, because we are 9 engineers. You should do business strategy." And my ignorance was so acute that my only problem with joining a fintech startup on the front line of mobile technology, working with financial services at global scale, was that, if I have to do a business role, I don't know how to make PowerPoint. And he said, "No, no, we got a guy who makes PowerPoint." I'm like, "Done, sign me up." So my only sort of hesitation to all the other things that I didn't know about was that I didn't know PowerPoint. Fun fact, from then till today, 2006 till now, I've only made one PowerPoint in life, ever. Uh, but that PowerPoint, I went so crazy because every Microsoft PowerPoint feature transition I applied, because this is the only time I was ever going to do it. It was a lot in the eyes. But anyway, so that's what it was. I think the point, if you really have to distill it down to a takeaway, an opportunity presented itself. I had 3 months of leave. I had very little to do. Um, Everything my friend talked about sounded really exciting, even though my grasp of that was minimal. And I said, "Look, worst case, I've spent 3 months in a new environment, learn something. Best case, something comes out of it." But I told my friend, "Don't fire me. 3 months' time, my call will come to join ship. If we need to part ways, I'll just go." So it doesn't have to be difficult. That experiment lasted for 7 years.
Oh, wow.
We, the co-founder used to take classes every night on financial markets. So he will get me 10 words. I need to go on Investopedia, research income. Next day he'll run classes. He taught me options trading, taught me everything about how the markets function,
Yeah.
how technology works. For the first year that the product was being built, there was very little business work to do, right? I was doing research, positioning, what should we do? I learned everything about the tech, about mobile, the middleware, financial markets, how it works. It was my B school and any school put together, right? And it really taught me so much about company building. So, and that business we scaled globally. We powered the mobile stock trading for the National Stock Exchange of India. Our brokerage partners were TD Ameritrade, Options Express, Charles Schwab, TradeStation, FXCM. Some of the biggest brokers on the planet used our platform. It was so advanced at the time of launch that even if you go and Google, there's a press release where TD Ameritrade, one of the largest financial institutions on the planet, put out a press release saying TD Ameritrade partners with Developer Market Simplified to launch mobile trading. I mean, today it's a marketer's dream. If you say someone of the scale of TD is going to put out a press release that they partnered with you,
Yeah.
you'll give an arm and a leg for it. You'll say, "I don't even want revenue from you."
Yeah.
Right? Because large companies don't do that.
Fair.
It was so cutting edge at that point in time that TD actually put out this press release. You can Google it, it's public knowledge, right? So, the best years of my life, great learning on company building, technology, high end of sales, and most importantly, company culture. And I take those lessons with me to this day.
Very interesting. I think two questions that come to my mind here. One, you took it as a 3-month experiment, of course, lasted for 8 months, and you entered in a business strategy role. What were some skills that you think were transferable? Number one, and number two, what did your role even look like? I think, especially when you're coming into it, you learned a lot, I think, on the role. But the reason I'm asking that is you came from a place where you probably didn't have too much network, right? Today, when you join a large tech company, or you're building your own startup, say tomorrow, you know where your first 10 hires are probably going to come from, right?
Yep.
But that time you were on a blank slate. So, I'd love to learn more about, how easy or hard that transition was and what did you do about it?
So the Merchant Navy days were incredible because sometimes imagine you have a 300-meter long ship. Okay, so what are the dimensions? 300 meters long, 45 meters broad. When fully loaded, the underwater itself is like 22 meters. That's the dimensions we're talking about, right? That big machine runs 24 hours a day, 365. There's no off time. Unlike aircraft, you don't dock it alongside and go out, right? You still work. Um, I've seen that scale being operated by 16 people, 1/6,
Wow.
right? And there's just so much physical. Remember, you maintain the ship, you manage the cargo, you load, discharge, you secure the ship, you segregate your garbage, you clean the septic tank, you navigate the ship, you chip and paint and oil and grease and maintain the engine to the equipment, everything done by those 16 people. Okay? So, the big transferable skill for me, and one of my favorite books in the world of all time is a book called Range, but I think David Epstein, which is around how people with meandering lives and careers tend to do well. It's the antithesis of the 10,000 hours rule. Okay, but anyway, so when you meander, you're supposed to pick up something. Otherwise, the meandering means you're directionless, right?
Sure.
And the thing I picked up was a small group of highly motivated, highly trained, mission-oriented people can achieve anything. Can achieve anything. That's why larger teams aren't very productive. Smaller teams are, right? And at sea, you had super skilled, super trained people, knew what the mission was. 755 or 755, not 56, not 57, not 755, right? And that just taught me that a small startup can do anything. That's a skill that I've taken with me. The 16 sometimes would involve 5 nationalities, right? So when 16 people, massive operation, 24 hours a day, sometimes you do have your backs to the wall.
Yeah.
And 5 nationalities as cultural differences. English is a common language, but there's so much lost in translation. So if you can manage that, startup teams are easy. So that's really what I took from that.
Very interesting. Were there days where, I'm sure the sea is not easy, right? When navigating such waters. Did you have any instances where you got into something that was super scary? I know sometimes I've seen videos. I don't know. I've never been for even a cruise, so I have no idea on how it is firsthand. But some seas are pretty rough, right? So
So at sea, unfortunately, many things are trying to kill you. So on a good day, rough seas, I actually think on a large ship is the least of your problems.
Okay.
It is very dramatic. The first time you experience big seas, you got to understand the only way the steel stays intact is because it's very malleable, right? And it's flexible. So when you have a long ship and you're out in the sea, you'll literally see the ship bend and flex. And it's very disconcerting for you because if I were to give you a bar of steel, you don't expect it to move.
Exactly.
Right? Then you have this 300-meter long ship and you're standing and you're literally seeing it bend and flex. Right? So ships are incredibly well constructed. Right? It is darn hard to sink a ship.
Okay.
But sometimes it's so dramatic, the weather. You're shipping water, you're rolling, you're pitching. It does feel like, surely something's got to give.
Yeah.
So I actually, to be honest, found rough seas very delightful. Once you consume the fact that you're not going to sink, which is not a statistical fact, it's for the most part, right? It's
Experiential,
true.
right? Over time.
I actually enjoyed rough seas, right? Which you should not. That's not what you should be doing. You should never have rough seas. But I thought when you stood there, you thought, man, these are experiences none of my peer set will be able to experience. So I saw it at that, right? I said, man, this is amazing. Like, so glad I'm 18, I'm 19, I'm 20, I'm getting to experience these things. The harder things are actually, but of course, in rough seas, sometimes something comes undone. There's a porthole that's open, something's getting flooded. Then it starts to get tricky, right?
Yeah.
But there are many other operations on ships that are very dangerous. Just bringing a ship alongside is very dangerous. So I'll give you a small example. So if you have a polypropylene rope that's like, if this is the diameter of the rope, when the ship is kind of getting pushed by the wind or you've not fully come alongside, that rope becomes almost this thin. Can you imagine a rope, polyprop rope, this thick, maybe 100 mm, almost like 1/10 of and it starts to sing, it starts to make noise. If that thing snaps, and it's happened many, many times, right? It'll cut through you like, that Final Destination, you've got that little laser that cuts people through. It's literally like that, right? Enough accidents have happened at sea there. So I would always be on guard during cargo operations. I have once on my first ship gotten my leg stuck in a rope and fallen flat on my face. My nose, the shape of my nose is not, this is not natural
Yeah.
beauty mark. It was earned at sea, and I fell smack on my face,
Holy shit.
which was a good outcome because if my leg would have gotten stuck and the rope was going off the lead,
You got pulled out.
I would have probably broken everything in my body. So I've had a couple of near miss accidents. Uh, I hope I never have to go back there
Yeah.
again. But I generally feel routine ship operations like mooring, anchoring, I feel those are more dangerous
Got it.
um, than rough seas. But
Very interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, I think some of why, and the reason I went deeper into this, even though we have less time to shoot this, is because I think some of these skills look very transferable, right? And like it's great you brought up range because a lot of people, we run a pretty large product community. I think product management is probably a career where a lot of people enjoy working and then figure out six different options after that, right? So I think what you mentioned is that hey, every opportunity that you go through, there is some skill that is often transferable. And just listening to what you said, I feel like maybe building a startup is easier than being at the sea, the way you mentioned, right?
See, the thing you got to notice is when you tie a knot, okay, there's no two ways of tying the right knot. There's only one way, okay, and you better do it right. 90% of the things you do at sea, if you do, there's nobody else around to check it. The cost of doing it wrong is often material loss. It could be damage, it could be loss of life and limb, it could be whatever, right? So you choose to take your work very seriously, right? The quest for perfection. At the same time, when you do other things in life where nobody is dying if something goes wrong or nothing is breaking and falling, it also teaches you that so long as you've done your best, you should be accepting of failure too. You can't beat yourself up too much, right? So it kind of teaches you, hey, don't make a mistake,
Yeah.
right? Get it right every single time. And yet, in a non-life-threatening environment, if you do make the odd mistake, despite so long as you've learned, I think it's okay. Nobody died. That's what you say, right? Nobody died. Move on.
Yeah.
And that's what it's kind of taught me in terms of balance.
Very interesting. Vinny, maybe moving on from merchant navy and the early experience of working with a company where startups weren't even as sexy. Um, where did the drive or passion come to? Hey, okay, today I'm going to start something of my own. Was that an epiphany? Was that a problem statement? Was it like okay, hey, transitionary? How did Cloudcherry even come to be?
I wish I could give you a nice romantic story about it, but I'll tell you what happened. 7 years there, um, and as I said, I learned everything about company building, technology, culture. That startup, I mean, it's 15, 16 years old. The core team is still there, right? So incredible, just an incredible set of people, incredible founder, right? But at some point in time, he and I had a divergence on business strategy. Well, guess what? I was running business strategy. So, I mean, I was running pre-sales, sales, at one point in time, marketing. I was the only business person in the company for the first 3 to 4 years, right? And I was doing the technical sales too, right? I was doing the POCs, I was doing the legal, I was doing everything. So incredible learning experience, right? And then I felt it's been 7 years and I felt like a frog in a well. What I had done in parallel, that's my dad, bless his soul, forced me to do a graduation, correspondence,
Okay.
open university. Okay. He said, you need a graduation if you want to do an MBA. So he literally filled up the form, got it to me and said, once a year, go for the exams and write them. Okay. And that's how I have a degree.
Okay.
I was 12th pass. I did do in the Merchant Navy, you have a diploma and degree in nautical sciences from BITS Pilani, right? That's why my LinkedIn says BITS Pilani, but it's not an engineering degree, right? My degree is the BBA from Open University. Now, the reason I'm saying that is when I finished 3 years of that, I said, let's apply for an MBA, right? Let's go out and maybe learn and see what you can become. So I went to my cousin who was running a B school in Chennai called the Great Lakes Institute of Management, right? I met him. He's someone I looked up to all my life. He's always the cool guy. He was at SPJ and he was here. So I asked him, look, I'm thinking about doing an MBA. What should I do? Exec, this, non. I had no idea.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, he was working on an idea. And there's a long story around how the company came together. But I essentially met my co-founder and the founding team of Cloudcherry there through that conversation.
Interesting.
And he said, look, what if we put in some money and would you be interested in exploring the sketch of an idea?
Okay.
And then the co-founder of the previous startup I was in, he had since left 3 years before that. He became my technical co-founder here. So all of these came together. I met Vijay, who's my co-founder who originated the idea of Cloudcherry, and that's how the team came together. So there was no burning desire to be an entrepreneur. Sorry
Got it.
to be the
No,
bearer
no,
of
that's
bad
okay.
news.
Yeah.
There was no moment of epiphany. It was an opportunity came together.
Okay.
When the sketch of the idea was told to me, I got very excited. I spent all night writing up a big doc about it. I like writing docs. Um, and then I said, this is a great idea, but this is what it should be. So I counter presented an idea, and then we said, let's do it. Why don't we build a company around it?
Okay.
And the interesting thing was, it was an idea in customer experience. I'm not from customer experience. But so our first deck, till Vidya, who's one of the early members of our team, joined, nobody came from a market research or whatever background. And our first deck to investors was, this team has a collective 200 years of experience as customers. And we said, we are building a product for us.
Yeah.
Because no brand understands our experience. They keep hitting us with stuff that doesn't matter. They don't give us the experience we want. Okay. And I want to build a product outside in. And to my mind, I consider myself today a product manager at heart.
Okay.
And my product building journey started there when I started putting that hat on. And it started in Market Simplified too, because I was the only person engaging with customers. There's no concept of customer success then.
Right.
But here, I think the difference was, I said, if I were a customer, what would I want the brand to know about me? And if I told that to the brand, how would the brand understand it, analyze it, act upon it, improve upon it, right? And that gave me the foundation of what product management is all about. It's not backlog grooming, right?
Yeah.
It essentially is truly putting yourself in the shoes of your customer, having an almost first person understanding, of what the customer goes through. And that really is what I've translated to everything I've built since in my life.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I think early days, even I didn't know this actually. So you knew your technical co-founder from earlier. So there was some rapport. You came up, brainstormed with a couple of folks, understood, okay, hey, this is a problem statement that I'm going behind. And that is probably where your entrepreneur journey got started. If you put that through a conventional venture hat today, it checks one part. Yes, you and your co-founder knew each other a little early, but I'm sure raising money would never have been even easier. Today, maybe the story is more important, but back then also, given just how limited, and I'm guessing this was all in Chennai, in Chennai, in India, right?
End of 2013. Yeah.
End of 2013, right? So the venture ecosystem in India was still very nascent.
If I were a VC, then I wouldn't fund me. So if that makes it
exactly right,
any better, yeah.
So how did what did the next steps from there look like? Okay, you have an initial idea coming through. Okay, hey, I'm going to leave my previous role. I'm going to jump into something new. What happened next?
So my cousin and his partners put in some money. I put in some money. We very, very, very soon realized that it takes significantly more amount of money to build a company than we had. For like 6 to 8 months, I think I got hold of one friend,
Okay.
one way or the other, and got them to fund the company. So every month, I think our salary bill was 15, 20 lakhs, something, right? Or deficit was that much. And these were friends who weren't like rich and loaded with money. Like I told them, look, don't give your kids' college fund to me. But if you're investing in the markets or whatever, I'll do my best to be conscientious with the money. And for the most part, the people who funded me, I told them, remember, you're paying last month's salary.
Yeah.
It's not like when I took this money, I knew after paying last month's salary and the rent and blah, 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 I had no money. I had to still find someone else for the next month, right? Because many months I paid salaries late to my team. So the first year was serious amount of struggle. Just understanding that for us to get to a place where Chennai Angels and then IDG, now Chirite, put in money was a lot of struggle. And I wouldn't have funded me then. That's just the honest answer. But I think by the time we were 1 year old almost, and we had early customers, traction, I think a very, very good product. So Nagendra was the technical founder, is just spectacular, right? So we had a very good core founding team. Vijay, I said, is the spiritual sort of father of Cloudcherry. He conceptualized the idea. He was truly the spirit in the company. He's the co-founder from heaven. Like, there's no better co-founder you can get. A very close friend of mine, Prem, came in the core founding team, ran marketing. So very old friend, so great rapport. Nagendra was with me at Marks and Fed.
Yeah.
Then a couple of more people joined a little later, but in the first year, this was the team, right? and I think it worked really, really well. And I spoke about Vidya, who came from a market research background.
Yeah.
So very strong core team. Everyone had core strengths. And then when we went and pitched at Chennai Angels, I remember I thought I made a great pitch.
Okay.
They thought I made a great pitch too.
Yeah.
Um, and it kind of worked out.
Interesting.
It as soon as the meeting got over, I think so. Mithun of Carrot Lane,
Yeah.
he sat on my board for a while.
Oh, very interesting. So
so
he was part of Chennai.
Chennai
Angels then?
Angels. He's based in Chennai. Very few
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
You can open.
Yeah.
Very few people know that Mithun was on my board,
So that's good.
and he's just an incredible guy.
Yeah.
So I think the meeting got over. TCM of Chirate, IDG then,
Uh-huh.
came and said, I loved what he said. He said, we really like it. We will fund you.
Okay.
Let's talk about, can you meet in the afternoon? Let's talk about the details.
Okay.
And I thought that was very antithetical to how you thought VCs operated, right?
Yeah.
So TCM said, no, we will fund you. We really like what you said. Can you meet us in the afternoon to discuss numbers? I said, great. Came in the afternoon, Mithun came. Mithun missed the meeting.
Okay.
He came, I say, I'm the founder of Carrot Lane. I'm like, oh, wow. Like, of course, we know you. He said, no, everyone seemed to like it. They want to put in money. So that one interaction went incredibly well.
Got it.
But the year before that, where I was begging my friends one by one for money, they're all still my very good friends, which means I give them good money back.
Okay.
It was just painful. And every day that I was not paying salaries on time, to walk into office and see these kids. The way I built my companies was I knew what bills you had to pay. Were you supporting a parent? Were you saving up for someone's wedding? Did you have an education loan to pay? I knew the context of your life, right? Was your mortgage significant? So for me, when I said I can't pay salary, I now also knew you couldn't pay your mortgage, or she couldn't do this, or he couldn't do that. And that sat very heavily on my heart. Like, that's the kind of stuff that makes me crouch and, moan. So, the seed round itself, to be honest, I thought was a breeze.
Okay.
But the year before that
Was a
was
hardship.
absolutely painful.
Got it. I'm sure some of these would have, like, not often founders go and are able to pitch their vision in a succinct manner, and I'm guessing that went well for you. Do you think, and if I were to generalize, I don't think Indian founders are naturally great at communicating. We have outliers for sure, and many of them learn, right? Iteratively get there on what the positioning is. Do you think maybe that year or your years before that, were you able to pick up that as a skill? Because, even in the previous role, you were talking to customers in and out. Where do you think you picked up that as a skill?
I think, look, some skills come naturally to you and you
Correct.
try to get better and better at them, right? And some skills you're bad at, but you kind of work and become level. I generally feel that you can only be great by excelling at what you're good at, right? So
Yeah.
the things you're terrible at, right, you work on and you bring yourself even keel, right?
Modern.
So for example, if you're technically very astute and you're a terrible communicator, I don't think you can become Shashi Tharoor in a day, right? I mean, that doesn't happen. But it's not to say you don't work. You work on it and you get to a point where it's not a weakness.
Yeah.
But what are you going to become great on? Are you going to become the greatest orator? Maybe you can. I'm not saying you can't.
Yeah.
But if you're truly great technically, you can hone that skill and become great at it. Right?
Yeah.
I feel that I think communication, at least, I had a feel for it.
Okay.
But it took a lot of real world conditioning to make sure you are aware of context. How do you talk to an investor? How do you talk to an employee? How do you talk to an employee who's older than you? Those contexts were picked up along the way, I'd like to think, right? And that's something I've done that as Draper. We're doing it at the Caravan this year. Storytelling, messaging, positioning, communication. I think it's a very, very important founder skill.
It is 200%. I agree. Is there something that you feel, and I completely agree with what you mentioned. I think double down on your strengths and try getting the weaknesses to a moderate level, right? So that, it's no more of weakness. But instead of like focusing on, hey, okay, this is something I'm not good at, let me just double down getting that, to a great level. I feel like slowly, I think when I'm starting to learn, it's like double down on that, because that can help you stand apart, right?
So as that also holds true for you as a manager. So you got somebody on your team. He or she has great skills in one aspect. The other, they are what they are, right? It's let's say you're not on time, right? So you beat them enough that they start coming on time, right? It's not that you should condone bad behavior, but if they're really good at creative stuff and they're erratic on times, I'll try to even out the time bit, but I won't constrain their brilliance.
Yeah.
I won't say, no, you got to punch in at 9 a.m. every day, because that's what everyone does.
Yeah.
There is a 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. person who's also incredible.
Yeah.
They come in, they do their work, very conscientious about their work. At 5, they want to be gone, right? There's nothing wrong with that, so long as you're delivering the goods. But don't force this person to do that. Just get them to even keel on that, but help them maximize their strengths.
Yeah.
That's how good managers. If management was about applying the same set of principles to everybody, it's easy. It's like the armed forces, right? Wear the same clothes, do the same thing, behave the same way. But startups are very multidimensional. Right? You gotta allow everyone to excel in their own way, while leveling everyone out on some common behaviors. And metrics that you have to perform, right?
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Great point. Great point. Vinny, I think we spoke about the 0 to 1. First year was hard. You were able to raise a round with Chennai Angels. What happened next?
So we raised that round to essentially go and further validate the hypothesis. We were in India, right? We continued.
How big was that round? If that is,
it was $1 million. These are
$1 million.
I'll share anything that's I share is public knowledge.
Perfect. Okay.
It was $1 million between IDG and Chennai Angels.
And just from a 2013 India market perspective, $1 million.
This was end of 2014.
14.
Yeah, end of 2014.
So of course, consumer, Flipkart, etc. was happening, but just to understand the Chennai ecosystem, was Zoho, Freshworks already pretty big, ChargeBee getting started. Where were we in terms of a Chennai?
ChargeBee was one round ahead. I think ChargeBee had raised a $6 million round then.
Okay.
Unifor had raised a $6 million round then.
Got it.
There were not too many companies.
Still early days,
Yeah. Million was a lot of money.
Got it, exactly.
We were in the news and it was pretty cool, right? I mean, I hadn't seen $1 million. I don't know if the viewers have seen it, but I hadn't seen $1 million.
So you've done a good job at the fundraise, right? That's something we can.
I think $1 million for a Chennai-based startup with minimum expenses, $1 million was a lot of money.
Very nice.
Right? So we doubled down in the India market, went after large enterprises, right? And spent a lot of time. I think in less than 12 months, we planned to raise our Series A, which was Vertex and Chirate, kind of doubling down. And then a very interesting conversation happened. And and I say this is a great compliment, so it shouldn't sound otherwise. So I remember I was sitting with Ben at Vertex and TCM at Chirate, and they said, you should move to the US. You're raising this round. And I said, my life in Chennai was set. I loved it. Like, I played cricket every Sunday and I loved everything about going to office and everything. I said, yeah, I'm going to live out of a suitcase. I'm going to be out and about all the time. I'm going to go to the US every X days, months, blah, blah, blah. I mean, don't worry, I got this. That's when I remember TCM said his iconic line. He said, hey, we're not asking you to go to the US. We're telling you. So I laughed and I said, okay, I think I know the difference between the two. That is the best push I ever got. And that's why I feel, as an amateur VC, your investor doesn't have to be your cheerleader all the time. They also need to tell you what they think. They may be wrong, make no mistake, but they should. Then the second thing was told. So then we said, okay, great, I'll move. Then I negotiated against myself and I said, man, the Bay Area seems very expensive. Maybe I should move to Austin. Right? Nothing wrong with the thought. It's cheaper, blah, blah, blah. And then Ben said, look, why would you travel 20 hours and still be 4 hours away from the Mecca of tech? Right? And that is also sound advice, which is, if you have a huge network in the Austin tech ecosystem, please go to Austin.
Great, yeah.
Go to Denver. Go wherever. Go to Salt Lake, right? But I knew nobody. So if you're going to a place and you want serendipity to happen to you, and we'll talk about serendipity a bit, and you want great things to happen, you want to go where network densities. I always say the probability of serendipity is directly proportional to network density or activity density. Density, some form of density. So where's the density the most? In the Bay Area. So that was the second bit of sort of joint at the hip advice that I got. You're not being asked to go, you're being told to go in very, very polite terms, of course. And next, please don't go to Austin or whatever, just go to the Bay. Both, I look back and I salute my investors, like, great piece of advice. A lot of what happened subsequently would not have happened if I hadn't been pushed in the right direction. So there you go.
This was 2015. What year would this be?
I think process started in 15, but 16, no, 16 really.
Closer to 60. Do you think 8 years later, if there is someone at a similar stage, is this something that you'd still suggest? And given that, they're of course selling to a market like this,
Yeah.
which was, similar condition.
So if you're moving from India to the US, if you have nothing going for you, which is you don't have a network and all of that, Silicon Valley is the easiest because tech, talent, investors, blah, blah, all of that, right? If you're doing something very specific for an industry and all your customers, you're selling to advertising, I'm just making this up, right? Or financial services. You want to be in New York? Please be in New York. Nothing wrong, right?
Fair enough.
So opt for one of the two,
Correct.
right? Be in the tech ecosystem that matters. Even New York, I'll tell you, all said and done, and someone can put their hand up and say, what I'm saying is BS, doesn't have the same tech ecosystem as the Bay. Today, San Francisco is abuzz with AI. Everyone said the city is dead. I said that too. But AI has kind of brought the city back to life.
Sure.
The number of AI meetups that are happening in SF, no other city.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So, either go to your customers, spend time with them, or come here.
Yeah.
If you're coming from India and you didn't know any better.
Yeah.
If you're born and raised here, I'm sure you can be in Idaho and build a great tech company.
Yeah.
But don't come from India and go to Idaho, right?
Fair.
Because that's probably not going to work out for you.
Fair. Yeah. No, we'll go deeper into this. Especially, would love to learn a little bit more into, there are lots of founders. You've been helping with a lot of them through SaaS. A lot of founders in our community. But looking at this, that hey, when is the right time to move? When is the right time to even come invest, build network? And I know you've done all of that. So maybe moving the discussion a little further. With Cloudcherry, I think you then moved, say, 2016. Again, I
December,
think a lot of customer 16, 17. Lot more customer facing. How was your first experience stepping into the US, especially when you mentioned, okay, hey, you didn't know too many people here in the Valley. So,
one of the things that I take very seriously in my life is what I do at SaaS Boomi, right? And that is because when I was in India, of course, all the then scaled founders, Girish, Suresh, Manav, Pallav, Anish, all of them would volunteer so much time, right? So I thought, this is amazing. But when I moved here, more serendipity happened, right? So we were discussing earlier informally, if you remember, someone who had met me only once and somehow liked what I was building, right? His wife is a techie. She really liked the tech we were building. He liked me. And then when I went back, I came to the US for a fact-finding sort of a mission in June. When I got back in October and my L1 visa came, I had only 12 months. It's a 12-month visa for the first time. And my budget was low. And he offered to pay my house advance, which I didn't. Like I said, I'll do it. And when I came here, I realized my visa had only 10 months left. He co-signed my car lease. He had met me once physically.
This is not an investor. This is not a business partner.
A friend of mine lives down the road here. His name is Prasad. I just co-signed my car lease. Many years later, I asked him why. And he said, look, it is a $30,000 call option. He says, worst case, I'll be stuck with the car, $30,000. Right? But I believed in you. Best case, he says, look, best case is right here in front of me. You've done something incredible. And I'm happy to be part of the journey.
Got it.
So I'm just saying, the kindness of strangers helped me. So, and yet you can't just wait roadside waiting for strangers to be kind to you. I think structurally I want to create more pay it forward and help.
The culture.
Without that, I don't think it's possible. Because when I came here, you have to understand, day one, when I came, there was this startup bridge event that Manu Rekhi and some folks, the inventors, they were running this to bring Indian founders in front of the Indian tech diaspora, essentially, right, at Stanford. That was my day one. So my day one was great. I think day one was the prep. Day two was the event, pitching to these folks, which was amazing, great experience. Day three, I realized I'm completely jobless. 0 meetings on the calendar, no network, nobody to call. I mean, I had a couple of friends by then. Nothing, right? And that's when it hit me that, man, your cost to company just went up significantly. Your productivity just dramatically plummeted. What are you going to do? You better make this count. And that was a very, very seminal moment in that journey. So to save money, bought my furniture from IKEA and I said, I'll assemble. I've worked on ship. I mean, I'm good with my hands. I'll do it. There was a very complicated chest in IKEA that I was assembling. And you don't want to spend $200-300 for the person to come. 2 or 3 hours, I'm stuck now. And I'm sitting and I sit back and I look at this and I say, okay, Vinod, why did you move to the US? to learn the fine art of assembling IKEA furniture or to build your startup. Okay, so stop mucking around, put that damn thing down, call the handyman, right, and focus on what you need to do. And that philosophy for me translates to, this is true for very few roles in the world. Okay, it's not, but especially for founders. Only do what only you can do. It's not to say that if the sink is clogged, you don't clean it. You do anything and everything.
Right.
But when you talk about optimizing for your time, you only do what only you can do. There are things only a founder can do in a company.
Fair.
Not because he or she is smarter, but because they're the founder. They're enabled, entrusted, they own that much of the company.
Yeah.
They feel that strongly about the problem. And that is when I called a handyman and I focused on first on getting busy, building a network, going out, and huge periods of absolute, like, take a deep breath fear. But yeah, it kind of worked out, I think. So
Very interesting.
it was scary. I'll be honest. There's no science behind it. That is why the SAS Bhumi Caravan,
Yeah.
we once did a session, bought a couple of founders' spouses, including my own, and actually spoke about the soft aspects of moving. What does it take for a family to move? We even wrote up a little handbook on how to move your family, right? So I just feel that all of that is important, right? If you spend the first 3 months settling a family down, your business is going to suffer.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's scary, it's lonely, but we are here. So
Yeah. No, I truly believe what you guys are doing is super necessary, and I love the initiative. You, Priya, Avinash, all of you all, just like putting a structured program here in the US has benefited so many founders. So kudos to you all for doing that. I would love to go tactically deeper into the Silicon Valley, but I'll just probably want to, close out the Cloudcherry chapter before we jump into that. I know you all got acquired by Cisco in the later days. A lot of founders I know are probably at a stage where they're thinking about, okay, hey, we've been building for a couple of years. A notion in the market or in the community has always been that, hey, acquisition is something that will always come from the front, right? Like, it's not something that you can plan for, right? Do you think that is true, or is there a way to, work tactically towards, okay, hey, what is it that a founder should do to increase the odds or increase the plate of serendipity for an opportunity like this to come back?
I always like relationship analogies. Okay, so they say, hey, you'll meet the right person. But if you sit at home, watching TV all day, the assumption is you may have all the attributes. You probably aren't going to find the right person. So similarly here, you may be building a great company, but if nobody knows about it, nobody's going to acquire you, right? Unless you're a market leading company already and you're on the magic quadrant and in the press, that's a different story. But I genuinely feel that biz dev in the early days is sometimes indistinguishable from corp dev, is the founder's responsibility, and needs to be done very mindfully from day one. Because biz dev yields strategic investment, go-to-market partners, channels that you didn't have earlier, and ultimately M&A opportunities, right? Apart from the fourth, all the others you need as a business to grow. So why would you not do it, right? And engaging a strategic ecosystem is very, very important because people are buying outcomes. Outcomes come through a suite of tech products, which essentially are playbooks that large tech companies deploy. And if you're a missing piece in the playbook, that's how you get acquired, right? If nothing, gives you go-to-market acceleration.
Yeah.
But that bundle works better for them. So I generally feel that founders should very consciously, very mindfully do biz dev. And again, don't confuse that with trying to form 100 partnerships, right?
Yeah.
Very mindful of what you do. Don't be indiscriminate, right? Put a massive premium on your time, but it has to be done. Build and they will follow. I'm not a huge believer, especially in enterprise, right? In consumer, maybe it works, or B2B2C, maybe it works, but not that much in
the enterprise.
Yeah, I know enterprise. Yeah.
How did your acquisition with Cisco look like? What was the story there?
So the funny part is Cisco found us, and I'm going to say some mildly embarrassing things. So let me just say it nonetheless. So Cisco found us at the Microsoft Accelerator. They have a demo day, the accelerator, and I think the gentleman from Cisco, Joydeep Bose, was not there. He couldn't make it. He then went through the list of companies, and then the Microsoft folks came and asked me, hey, Cisco Corp Dev wants to talk to you. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, Cisco makes routers, networks, switches. Like, why does he want to talk to me? Like, I'm a customer experience company.
Yeah.
So he called and he said, hey, I want to talk to you. So I said, listen, I'll be honest. Like, what's your interest in talking to me? And he said, I'm just going to send you a link Um, check it out. That's when I discovered Cisco had probably the largest contact center install base on the planet.
Wow.
So mildly embarrassed, egg on face. So here I've publicly acknowledged my ignorance. Um, so um, so I called back and I said, look, pardon my ignorance, but this seems incredible. I looked, I said, access to the entire contact center. Because when I started this company, we were looking at hospitality, retail, those ends. We're not looking at it from a customer support, customer experience lens, right?
Yeah.
Suddenly I looked at that and I said, geez, the contact center universe is massive, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what is the place where customer experience gets made or broken? The contact center, right? And nobody calls the contact center happy. They're all unhappy.
Sure.
So when I discovered that, I told them, yeah, I would love for you to participate in the round. So they participated in the round with IDG and Vertex,
Oh, interesting.
Chirate and Vertex. And then I came to San Jose to kind of close it out, to pitch to them. And then I said, this is a great go-to-market partner. When I moved to the US subsequently, I came to Pleasanton because I wanted a lady, Rajni. She was in the first core founding team at Salesforce. She was in the first 100 employees or whatever. First team that went with Mark to form Salesforce. I wanted her to be on my board. I wanted to learn from her. She lived in Pleasanton. Cisco, San Jose, Milpitas didn't seem too far away. That's why I picked this, because I said, I need to engage these folks.
Right.
I have nothing, but I have a couple of people to start with on day one. And that's how I came in. So Cisco came into the cap table then. They participated in the next round too. We had one acquisition offer from a company early. And there's a story, very interesting story. I'm happy to go down if you want. That time it didn't go through. We were not too keen. 6 months later, I realized one person's going public in our space, one person has gotten acquired, others are P's are merging them. I realized the M&A sort of window is going to close. When the next acquisition call came, they said, offers in your inbox, or not inbox,
Yeah, on the table. Yeah.
on the table, you have 2 weeks, now or never. Then I called the Cisco folks and I said, look, there's a pretty good offer. Like, I think I might take it. And that's when Cisco put the hand up and said, let's check in and come back. And the team was interested too. So that's how it kind of got triggered.
Got it. Got it. Was the company that put an offer out to you, did you have an existing relationship with them, or how did?
So when, I won't name them.
Yeah.
When I was moving here, I asked Sanat Rao at IDG again, hey, these are the 4-5 companies I want to meet. Someone, can you come? He said, no, I have a cousin there who's VP of Finance. Connect me. I mean, you don't know anybody, right? I mean, VP of Finance is good enough. So I spoke to her and they said, yeah, looks like you're in the same space as us. Want to come in and meet us? So I said, yeah, I'd love to. So I came in and to her credit, she managed their product leaders, revenue leaders, like 4-5 of their most important C-suite leaders were there.
Yeah.
And I ran a full-fledged demo. And my hypothesis was that I am what you would be if you restarted your company 15 years later, except there are hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue.
Got it.
You can't just restart your company.
Yeah.
I felt they were very heavy, very enterprise, very unwieldy. And I was like the modern version of, if you were born again, what would you look like? And they said, why are you showing this to us? I said, if you could build it just by seeing my demo, I'm screwed anyways. Right?
Yeah.
But I feel we can partner. I didn't really feel we could partner, right? But I wanted them to know I exist.
Got it.
So subsequently, when we started competing on deals and we won deals, they could go back and say, okay, that's a spectacular product. I will tell you one thing.
Yeah.
I'm so insanely proud about how good a product we built.
Nice.
That is a truly world-class product, right? From UX, from a feature perspective, just everything, value delivery perspective, it's just a spectacular product. So them having seen it, met me, then subsequently seeing me in deals, I think kind of triggered and accelerated. So they came and tried to acquire us first, didn't go through for multiple reasons. They called us again. And that's what triggered all the other chain of events, and that yielded the Cisco acquisition.
And also gives you a little bit more leverage going into that conversation, right? When you have some.
If you don't have optionality, you're going to get rock bottom price. As simple as that.
Fair.
Without optionality, there is no M&A.
Vinny, moving on into the next segment. We've covered a lot about Cloudcherry and the journey post that. I'd love to go deeper into specific sections that you touched upon while we were jamming on the journey. First up, it's just a market scenario. Lots of people in our community, lots of founders, have raised rounds. Things are no more like what it was in 2021. Funding's slowed down. Customer conversations are a lot longer. and I know you've been deeply involved via different forums, where you've been chatting with a lot of them. Anecdotally or tactically, if there were three things that you'd like to share with them from a introspection slash a tactical way for them to formulate a plan ahead, for early stage founders specifically,
Got it.
what would you suggest?
So the first macro is, I think everything has changed and yet nothing has changed, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. Um, Foundationally, the way you build software, monetize it, architect your stack has changed, right? Completely changed. Earlier, you had a database set of queries, a GUI that kind of visualizes it, right? That thing has been smashed to smithereens, right? So if you're an early stage founder, see, if you have hundreds of millions of ARR and you're figuring out your AI stuff, it's fine. But if you're pre-revenue, pre-PMF, and you're trying to figure out how this is a problem, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't have the size that gives you some amount of, doesn't buy you wriggle room. So that's number one. So everything has changed from that perspective. But what has not changed? What has not changed is you need to solve business problems. The deployment, that expense needs to make money, right? Save money, what have you, right? You need great customer success.
Yeah.
You just need to have a product that's safe, scalable, secure, delightful to use. You need great company culture. You need to keep a company monetized, which means all the foundations of company building haven't gone away. In fact, post-COVID, the need to be profitable, not burn too much money, revenue is the only thing that matters. Like, I mean, come on, that was always supposed to be the case. We forgot it for an extended period of time, right? So while you definitely, rightfully, maybe over-rotate on the things that have changed, don't forget about the things that haven't. Finding the balance is incredibly important, right?
Yeah.
Much like the cloud, it comes in, it looks like, oh my God, it's hard, then it becomes easier, then it becomes cheaper, then it's a service you just procure, right?
Right.
Same with an LLM, like it's around open source, closed source ones. What you do with it makes a difference.
Yeah.
I'm assuming majority of people aren't building foundational models. If
Right.
you are, fantastic, right? I mean, that's a different business,
Yeah.
right? If you're building software that makes people's lives better, my assumption is you're leveraging somebody else's LLM.
Correct.
So know all the things that have changed irreversibly, and know all the things that haven't changed and will not change, and don't get confused about the two, right?
Sure.
The next is, as much as we say Gen AI, the number of commercially active Gen AI implementations in large enterprise, my rough approximate guess is zero. Because large enterprises, the first problem was data privacy, right? Because I'm not going to give your model my data so it gets smarter. If it involves my data going somewhere else or a model coming in which is trained on other data, just forget about it. That's a non-starter. That quickly changed to lots of purpose-built SLMs doing bespoke work. This model does checks on accounts receivable. This model checks on sales leads that are hot. But isn't that software? Isn't there software that tracks accounts receivable? Isn't there software that analyzes your Salesforce data to? And beneath the hood, it's different.
Yeah.
But you realize suddenly you're doing these SLMs and you're coming down to products.
Yeah.
So this is not too long ago. Not more than 12 months ago, CIO actually told, I heard them say, hey, we're going to take this humongous model and deploy it across the enterprise. That very quickly changed. Okay, hold on. Maybe that's not possible. Today it might seem silly. 12 months ago, it seemed like a possibility.
True.
Because someone played with ChatGPT and said, this did my kid's homework, told me a general knowledge answer, planned a trip for me somewhere. Of course, you can do everything. Theoretically, right? Soon as you look at enterprise applicability, you realize, geez, no, hold on. I need to pre-train it, fine-tune it, apply it, put the feedback loop in, make it better and better, and apply it to a certain purpose. Making it better on something does not come with making it do 500 things. So in many ways, purpose-built SLMs doing specific things, having GUI that represents what you need is basically so what software products were, except it's different beneath the hood. That's why I'm saying, while you know everything has changed, don't forget about the fact that the old problem hasn't gone away.
Fair.
So for example, today, if a pilot is flying an aircraft, and everyone said, no, everything will be a search bar, right? And I'll tell you why everything is not going to be a search bar. Pilots flying a plane, and they're used to seeing altitude a certain way. Why would you make it a search box?
Hmm.
She or he wants altitude, right?
Yeah.
Rate of descent. What is this? They just want that. Give
Yeah.
it to them.
Yeah.
Now, you make it 100 times queryable, as in what rate of descent is best for me to whatever, great. But why would you take that
Good.
altimeter there away?
Yeah.
So if you're a customer service person, salesperson, you're used to seeing stuff a certain way.
Yeah.
Purpose built canned GUI is not going to go away.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I force you to ask a query when all I want to see is funnel?
Yeah.
You can add 100 other queries and say, tell me the funnel of active people whose, I'm just saying, public market data also indicates that they're investing in security. I'm just making this up.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
But when someone wants to see how many deals this quarter, by what stage, by whatever, why will you ask me to ask a custom query every single time?
Yeah.
So the reason I'm taking this very tactical example is that is what software products were.
True.
They're different beneath the hood. That hasn't changed.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want people not to over-rotate on Gen AI wherein they think everything has changed
Mm-hmm.
without realizing that what hasn't changed.
Mm.
So one very tactical advice is, look, the buying center has moved. So there was a data point, I think 10 years ago, I forget when, you can look it up.
Uh-huh.
Oh, CMO now holds more buying dollar than CIO.
Mm-hmm.
There was a massive shift from the tech leader to the
Marketing
right
function.
marketing, say whatever the business or the that has in Gen AI come all the way back. Why? Because the moment you say Gen AI, what model, what data is it trained on, where is my data going, what about hallucinations?
Mm-hmm.
And frontline business leaders aren't going to solve that problem. So
Yeah.
the CIO in the large enterprise is saying, I'm going to take a holistic view, the CISO, CIO, whoever, right? And we're going to tell you what our AI strategy is.
Right.
What are the list of whitelisted tools?
Hmm.
If a product has Gen AI, what is to be checked?
Hmm.
So unless you have the scale and heft, if you position yourself as a Gen AI native and Gen AI is the heart of your pitch, get ready to go to the CIO. And guess how many vendors the CIO gets, how many vendors get to meet the CIO?
Yeah.
I would stick to what problems I'm solving. Yes, I use Gen AI, yes, whatever. But what am I solving? What am I purpose built for? Right? Understand that standard language models trained on universal data,
Yeah.
sending data back to the universe aren't going to work in enterprise.
Yeah.
Might work in SMB,
Yeah.
right? There also you have to disclaim on data privacy.
Yep.
Just because an enterprise is small doesn't mean you can take that data, right?
True.
And the most important part is hallucinations.
Yeah.
So most people in phase one are deploying Gen AI use cases internal facing before they do external facing. So now if you're an early stage startup, concept selling for an external facing application where hallucination is a real like fiduciary, regulatory, whatever risk, where data privacy issue exists, it's a CIO buy. What are your chances of closing that deal? Minuscule. So that's the balance that founders need to get
Got it.
in this Gen AI world.
Yeah.
And hence the paradox, everything is changed but nothing has, right?
Yeah.
If you consume that paradox and continue to solve the problems that need to be solved,
Yeah.
you're fine. If you completely over rotate and like you don't have to sell Gen AI, everyone's bought Gen AI already. You have to sell why your use
Your
of
tool.
Gen AI is better than the other person,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
So that's how I would like to have founders think about this. But I will tell you this, I met a founder not too long ago who was doing some analytics
Uh-huh.
and they were 6 months old doing, I won't say in which space, but there I got worried because I said, look, everything about your business has changed, right? I can imagine how your product looks beneath the hood, right?
Yeah.
This is not going to fly. You're 6 months old, early revenue,
Time to move.
you're not going to be able to scale. So you need to make a hard pivot, right?
Got it.
And re-architect your product bottom up with AI at its core. So.
Very interesting. Vinny, you mentioned a very interesting point is, the buying power has now shifted to CIOs. For these early stage founders, what is the best way for them to, build those relationships and get in front of these CIOs?
See, that's what I'm saying. Everything is possible. Let's start with all things are possible, right? So nothing is not possible.
But it's also a reality check, like so. Yeah.
So the CIOs, you have to understand, what do you think the hyperscalers are doing? Hyperscalers is sitting in the CIO's office and saying, let's start with the cloud, let's start with your infrastructure, let's start with this, I'll give you this, I'll give you a foundational model, I will give you this place to play around with it, I'll give you secure data storage, compute access, I'll give you, they're doing everything.
Correct.
Right? So you've got 3 big hyperscalers, you've got the Salesforces of the world, right? You've got all these big companies coming in,
Right.
right? Then you've got the vendors who own certain pieces of the puzzle. So, and this again, as I said, all things are possible. If I were an early stage startup, I wouldn't predicate my sale in such a way that if the CIO doesn't meet me, I can't sell.
Yeah.
Starting up, right?
Yeah.
Because early stage startup based in India, going for the high end of enterprise where I need to meet the CIO of, I'm just making this up,
Yeah.
Verizon to do my business, you're asking for a lot.
Very limited.
Right? And they don't have the bandwidth to meet every interesting startup that comes up.
Correct.
Even if you do, you have no street cred, right? You've not deployed anywhere.
Yeah.
So picking your ICP, picking the side of the market you want, incredibly important.
Got
right?
it.
If you can solve a point problem that is not a CIO buy, I would still lean in that direction.
Got it.
Because the kind of startup that starts and closes its first deal as a 7-figure ACV is a very different founder, very different startup.
Agreed.
Founder comes from the enterprise, knows the space, has a Rolodex, starts, design partners are large enterprises, builds for them, does a soft launch. On the day of public launch, he already has 10 enterprises using it, right?
Logos, yeah.
Very different kind of company.
Yeah.
If you're a first-time founder from India, building for the world, and your ICP CIO of, let me change now, Best Buy, you have a slight problem, right?
Fair point.
Because that access is going to be very, 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 very hard, and rightfully so.
Got it. Rolling that back, so if a founder is in that condition where you probably want to sell to a Best Buy, maybe you're too early to reach the CIO. Is it right to think that maybe then you try building relationships with folks who are -2, -3? Would that be the strategy? Then maybe try reaching out to more directors, senior directors, or how do you work your way up? What is the strategy there that that hey, I want to maybe work mid-market up. Maybe I don't go to a Best Buy directly. What is the strategy?
See, so knowing your ICPC, here's the thing. If you're solving a problem for the largest enterprise on the planet, so be it. Then you agree to live with the pain and you work your way around it, right? Which is the kind of investors you get, the kind of partners you get, how you do your route to market, all of that is basis that. I wouldn't say build for mid-market and go upstream because very hard. You get very boxed.
Correct.
Right? You can't just say SMB, I will add SOC 2 compliance and I'll become enterprise company. Very hard, right?
Fair point.
See, in so many spaces, companies have competed with each other, and one is enterprise, one is mid-market, and you're like, why aren't you going to the other person's territory? Very hard.
Yeah. But the trend, and something that even you would be seeing, given the founders that you're interacting with from the Indian diaspora, is that the feeling of being a founder is that, hey, I am building something that is very useful for SMB, mid-market and enterprise, either one of that bucket. Or second, it is a push that is slightly more external that, hey, it's a great product, why don't you do enterprise? Right? Because better margins, yes, longer sales cycle, so they don't end up doing it in the beginning because, don't have relationships, don't have a product that's ready there. But everywhere the feedback is okay, hey, okay. And this is the genuine truth, right? So how do you navigate to see what's the reality check here?
So if you look at core product, right? There's ease of onboarding, ease of configuration, ease of value delivery, right? And then there's a spectrum of security and all of that, right? Complexity, which is admin rights, there's that. If you're doing SMB, you'll over-rotate on ease of onboarding because I want you to click, configure, deploy.
Fair enough.
Doing mid-market, it's important. Enterprise, which enterprise self-onboards? They don't. So you won't spend that much time in ease of onboarding. For the end user, that is.
Fair point.
Then there is ease of configuration. SMB, you want them to configure. Mid-market, and you may do. Even if you do, you want the services cost to be low. In enterprise, they don't configure themselves, right? Somewhat. Ease of value delivery, very important, right? The reason I'm saying that is, if you're doing SMB, mid-market and enterprise, one morning you're a product manager. You're in a meeting on click to convert. I click, I do what is my FTU, first time user experience, how many fields do I collect data on, right? None of that matters for enterprise at all. Because enterprise, the user will get pre-configured screens. Like, I went to a car dealership today. They have a screen of their software. You think he configures the screen? No, the screen's already ready.
Agreed.
He or she is taught how to use it, how to find the car, how to whatever, right?
Agreed.
So imagine you are a product manager, you go from that meeting to user hierarchies, right? No, it's not maker checker, there's that. No, it's like manager, this has this right, that has this right. Like suddenly you got a a tree
Yeah.
that is very, very complex. Just rights and permissions. Who has admin, who has view, who has this, who can do what, correct?
Yeah.
These are completely different worlds.
Agreed.
How do you solve for both simultaneously and elegantly in the same product? Very, very hard.
Very
I'm not
hard.
saying not possible.
Very
All
hard.
things are possible.
Yeah.
But if you're yawing between these two worlds, someone's asking you to do some compliance, right?
Yeah.
SMB doesn't care. SMB is saying, man, it's not easy to use it. And so if you say my thing solves a problem for SMB, mid-market and enterprise, again, full disclaimer, someone can say, look at me, I'm actually able to do it. For the most part, I think you're vastly misguided, right?
Totally. Yeah.
You don't have a real handle on ICP.
Yeah.
Because what is ICP identification? My ICP is Suhas, who is this, who likes this, who hangs out here, propensity is this, thinks about the world like this, succeeds. If this happens, he gets promoted, right?
Correct.
If this happens, he responds to this stimulus better than that,
Yeah.
right? That level of fine-tuned understanding of who you are.
Correct.
As a person, as a professional, what you succeed with, what you're looking for. How do you translate that across these very, very, very different
100%.
industry segments?
Yeah. I 100% agree with you. I think where this is being driven from is boiling down to ACV. Right? I think just the budget that larger enterprises, everyone wants to sell to them, but I completely agree with you. Maybe the journey to that is slightly longer. Let's take an example of people who want to sell there but don't have network. Maybe boils down to building some of these relationships, right? Do you think there is a tactical way? Say there's a founder. I know you interact with thousands of them today in the SaaS space. Chennai is very different in 2024. India is very different in 2024 from what it was. And there is probably no other market that buys as much software as North America, right? So imagine for that persona of a founder, tactically, what is their way forward? Is there something that you suggest? Okay, hey, this is something that you
very
can
tactical, right?
Yeah.
See, I feel that the greatest salesperson in a company shall always be the founder. Always, you can get sales work. So first thing first, that early in your life, please don't outsource sales, right?
Yeah.
What is the only reason a C-suite in a significantly large company, we're talking enterprise right now,
Yes.
will pay attention to you? One of three ways. I'm just making this up.
Sure,
There
sure,
could be more ways, right? One is a valid referral. Where do you get the referral from? Investors. Please use your investors. If your investors can't make these introductions, then that's pointless, right? Capital is useless. The other could be partners or channels or events, whatever, right? There's a way to, there's iffy, whatever. Don't underestimate the value of cold outreach.
Okay.
I have mailed, I'll give you a real example. So, CMO of a very large fashion apparel chain in India. I won't take names. Their biggest competitors had deployed competing technology to Cloudcherry. So, the three co-founders were sitting and saying, let's take 50 leads, 50 names of people, and we'll all write 15, 17 emails each. Okay? And we agreed on some whatever. I wrote an email in 10 minutes. Within 10 minutes, it was forwarded 2-3 times and got a reply by the 15th minute. I'll tell you what it was. And of course, this changes. So it's like, hey, Suhas, and whatever. I walked into a X store, your computer store recently, and I saw that they've deployed this incredible customer experience technology, which, funny enough, Bain, the partner at Bain, also blogged about. Oh no, sorry, other way around. Reverse the story, sorry. They were the ones who had deployed this, okay? But I wanted to reach out to them.
Okay.
So I said, I know you've done it. I read about, sorry, now I remember the story. I read the Bain Partners blog. I walked into your store. I actually remember seeing that. We've deployed similar technology for X, which is your very large competitor. I know you're not in the market to buy, obviously, because you have it. But I'd love to meet up and trade notes because you seem like you pioneered this technology. And we've learned some incredible things working with them, right? Not in a way of sharing, right? We'd love to just meet as professionals and share about customer experience, right? So it took the pressure of the sale away. The cold outreach was highly tailored towards him, right? It had all the information that was needed. And he knew I was working with other people in the space, right? So as someone who spent all the money to bring in a Big Four consulting firm, deploy a customer experience program, roll it across thousands of stores. They invested in customer experience. Right? And that was probably the only peer level message that came to them saying, hey, we are doing the same thing as you are in other places. Let's sit and chat.
Yeah.
It was a meeting of equals when we met, right? So don't forget the power of cold outreach.
Got it.
And the reason I say that is one long shot, which may not whatever, is you genuinely, truly reach out, but you can't do it formulaically. You can't say today I'm going to send 50 emails.
Uh-huh.
Suhas, Google Suhas product. Hey Suhas, I know you love products. I would love to connect and chat about it. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
How many messages in inbox do you have?
True.
But if they have to talk about it's the world has gone away from even, hey, I saw that pod of yours, nice.
Yeah.
Now even that's not enough, because that's also become very. It has to be something that feels like an old friend sent it. You said tactical, so I'm going very tactical,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
That or like I think I've forgotten, like I know this guy, right? Or geez, this guy. If nothing else, I owe her or him the courtesy of a response, right?
Yes.
And I just feel, don't forget the value of cold outreach.
Got it.
I would, if I knew nothing, I had no investors, no partners, no this, no what. What are you going to do? Sit and twiddle thumbs? No. You have one thing that nobody else has got. No sales rep on the planet has got. You have committed your entire life. Your entire purpose of being
Yeah.
is to solve his problem. His problem may be knee pain. His problem may be I want to look taller,
Yeah.
right? And what are you selling early on? You're selling conviction. And founders get very caught up in, especially Indian founders. Oh, I'm not very good in English. I'm a techie. I'm not a sales guy. You're first, you're going to be the sales guy in your company in perpetuity. So make peace with it.
Fair one. Huh.
It doesn't mean you run the sales process. Very different, right? You'll always be the number one seller in your company because you have conviction.
Correct.
The hired sales rep does not have conviction.
Fair.
So early on, this the message I want to leave behind is early on in your startup life, what you sell is conviction.
Got it.
What channel you use to sell conviction is secondary. If you can't convince people that you have conviction, you've dedicated your life to it, Suhas, you should too.
Yeah.
Why would you join my startup as an employee? Why would you partner with me?
Yeah.
Because you're partnering with big companies. I'm like 100K ARR. What deal can I bring you that will change your life as a partner? Nothing.
Fair.
Why should I invest in your company?
Fair.
Why should I talk highly about you when you're not in the room? And why should I buy from you?
Yeah.
You're not selling product, you're selling conviction. So long as you have conviction, my assumption is you've committed your whole life to starting your company.
Yeah.
That means you have conviction. Go out and sell conviction. You'd be amazed how much it works.
Got it. Got it. That's actually very interesting. You spoke about serendipity earlier. Now it is about, hey, how do you personalize that relationship? It is not about sending those 50 cold emails anymore. Even if you want that cold email. I mean, warm is essentially a reference point, right? When you ask for a warm refill, it's a reference point. For a cold, you mentioned that, hey, it's no more about, those generic templates that you're sending. It's more personalized research, building that relationship. Is there something that has helped you personally when you go back to think about it, that hey, because on one end, you have to build a business, you have to sell, right? On the other end, no one likes being sold to, right? What is the fine line between them where you think, okay, hey, I want to build a relationship with X, maybe long term, but at the same time, I know I need to, also build my business. Where do you draw the line? Where do you make it very, very more, very, very natural or very organic?
So in a very material realm, your product has to be good, has to be solving a problem.
Let's take that as the default.
Right? I mean, the reason I say that is, how often do we convince ourselves that it does while it doesn't? How often do we convince ourselves that it's top shelf where it's not, right? So we have to introspect, right?
Okay.
But let's assume that's an assumed. And please go back and revisit that hypothesis, right?
Fair.
Don't just
take an honest look at it.
Wake up and with the conviction that it's already there. When you really look at that fundamental, you're going out and you're talking to somebody, right? I'm being sold to. What is the? I've always said the greatest sales hack is authenticity. The best salespeople are saying, I know in my heart and I believe, either because I used it in my past life, I was doing your job, or I've dog-fooded it myself, or I've done it with him or her, right? And I've seen these results. It's different from a case study. The last example, the first two were not case studies. Case study is what here? 33% increase in sales with X company. Everyone's got some stat like that. But the selling of conviction involves telling them, I know you. I feel your pain. As I said, by one of three ways. I was you in my past life. I was a CMO, C whatever, right? As a head of support, right? Or I've solved this exact problem multiple times, right? Whatever, right? One of these ways.
Yeah.
And drive the conviction that I believe this will solve the problem, right? And the reason I'm saying that is if you have high trust, high conviction, you're able to isolate the problem. What is the thing? Is it not important enough?
Mm-hmm.
If after all of that they say it's not important, it's just not important. Not because it's not important in the world.
Yeah.
Isn't better health good for all of us? How many people are out jogging or eating healthy? Right? It's a matter of your prioritization. It's not that important. So maybe that company this year is not looking at customer retention.
Yeah.
Maybe not, right? Or whatever.
Fair.
So you need to strike the fine balance between first you have to sell conviction, but you need to prod and probe to get to what is the objection. Why not? People are very, very bad at saying either what you want to hear or not telling you what's holding you back. You have to ask what I say. You have to answer the unasked question. When someone asks you a question, they're really trying to suss out something else, and you must ask people what they're not telling you. For example, you can say, looks like I don't think this is budgeted for, is it? Like, so how do you think if this happens, how will you create the budget for it? Ask that question. I don't have budget is the easy option. I don't have budget. That's fine. We know it's not budget, not there. I didn't come here because you had a budget, right? So you've got, and there are many frameworks for it, right? And you can choose any theoretical framework, right? Jolt is a framework, for example, right? But objection handling, estimation, going around it. The number one reason, they say there is a errors of omission and commission.
Yeah.
Right? Omission doesn't get people fired. Commission does. Maybe omission also does. People are very scared of making the wrong decision. If I knew that, because I went to a car dealership recently, I know that you're like, man, the moment I sign on the dotted line, it's going to be a lease or whatever, $2,000 a month, right? And I know the cost is really getting after you. And I'm here saying, look at these trims, look at this, 0 to 100 in wrong one. That's why I'm here. I like all of this.
Right.
Now I'm like, man, the moment I do this lump in my heart, like it's going to be expensive. Right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, can we talk about financing options?
Right.
I know it's not ideal, but if you go to a 4-year, 5-year lease, it's longer. I can even out the number a bit for you, right? I have two options where if you do this, upfront I know it's 10K. I can make it 5. What if I add a little more there? You know what I'm saying? If you have sussed out the problem.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're trying to sell the supercar experience to them and they're stuck on the money, right? So this is a very fine skill.
Fair.
And at some point of time, the reality is you're selling.
Yeah.
I want your money. That's what the transaction is.
Exactly.
I'll deliver value. I'll give you great customer success, customer for life. I love my customer. All that is fine. But net, why? Why is Atithi Devo Bhava? Because Atithi gives me money, right? I mean, the guest in my business, right, is God because the guest gives money, unlike a guest to your house, right? So you're running a for-profit enterprise.
Yeah.
At some point in time, you have to push the sale.
Yeah.
Which means you got to say, what else stops you from doing this? And it's okay to sell.
Got it.
How can I say I'm your ICP, assuming your ICP is right? I have the pain, your identification of pain is right. I need it now, otherwise I'm bleeding away and dying. Okay? ROI or money saving or slam dunk.
Got it.
Then but kharid nahi raha hu. I'm not able to buy. One of the previous statements is a lie.
Fair point.
Or many of the previous statements are a lie. If all of that happens and I'm not.
Yeah.
Right? If, again, going back to relationship analogy, because everyone relates to it. If the other person's telling you, nothing's wrong with you, the problem is with me, that's BS.
Yeah.
Nobody thinks the problem is with them.
Yeah.
All of us love ourselves far too much for that. There is a problem with you.
There's something
Either you're not tall enough, you don't make enough money, or you're not considerate enough, or you don't, something, I don't know, I'm just making this up. Pick a list. Either you don't care, you move on, you take the loss. If you want to self-improve and see why not, you got to ask the right question, right? So, even in sales, it's the same thing. There is a problem in the hypothesis somewhere. It's your job to suss it out, your job to overcome it, right? If not, you either got the wrong buyer or the personal archetype in the buyer that you're supposed to get, or your ROI, this, that, something is flaky there, right? So that comes by a process of elimination of all reasons why you will not do business with me.
Got it.
I know it's a long-winded answer,
Yeah,
but
no, it
that's
helps. 100% helps. Vinny, we spoke a lot about company building, but we'd love to know you from a more personal standpoint.
okay. Let's go.
I think two things that you mentioned. One is every time both Manny and me have met you, one thing we've noticed is the energy that you bring into a conversation that's just phenomenal to even just match up to. So before I get into the rapid fire, my question to you, what is the secret to that energy? How do you start every conversation? I've noticed this not just because it is at a conference, like I think this was Sash Bhumi in Chennai, end of a long day, you're still greeting and chatting with everyone with that same energy. What is the secret source to that energy?
I actually don't know.
Okay.
So I have friends from the 20s to the 70s, right? I have a wide spectrum of friends. I would love to say that even my friends in the younger end of that spectrum, I give them a run for their money on energy, okay? It's who I am, right? I always say I'm the most active, lazy person I know. In my head, I'm very lazy.
Okay.
If you told me lie in bed all day, like, and your food will come to you, watch something, I'd probably happily do it, okay? But in my mind, I think FOMO is real. You want to go out, you want to do things. Any moment I'm not doing something, I feel like I'm missing out. It's a personal strength and a weakness, right? But the energy is from within, right? Um, yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel, but here's okay. Maybe see, there are extroverts, introverts, high energy people, low energy people. That's all natural what you're born with. I do get great energy from high positive energy environments. Like I love like positive energy people. I love positive energy environments. I am. I tell people I'm an ambivert. Most people don't believe that. They think I'm an extrovert. In places where I either don't feel good energy or I feel I don't belong or whatever, I'm very clamped up. Right? I'm not very verbose there. But when it comes to founder circles in societies, I look at the room and I see people in my stage of the journey, ahead of me in the journey, behind as in terms of chronology, right?
Right.
Ahead, behind, and all is just chronology, right?
Correct.
Or other time sequence of where you are in your journey. And I feel like these are my people, right? And I draw insane amount of energy. So I could be up on my feet and most SaaS boomies, I land at like early 3, 4 in the
Exactly.
morning and I
Yeah.
hit the event at 8 in the morning, right? I really enjoy it. Like I do it 10 days a week, right?
Yeah.
Same with my friends locally, like people who enjoy and I cherish.
Yeah.
We have a nice cricket team and league here.
Uh-huh.
My backyard is the official sort of meeting point.
Nice.
It's called Vinny Yard, like my Vinny nickname.
Uh-huh.
I enjoy it. Like it's people say, "Oh, how are you okay with hosting 3 days a week?" I'm like, I don't care. It's fine. I actually enjoy it.
Right.
So my energy comes from the energy of people. I feed off of the energy, which is not true for many people.
Yeah.
Many people need to conserve their energy.
Yeah.
Every social interaction for them is a drain. Just know yourself, right?
Got it.
I spoke a lot about authenticity, and it's the underlying thing for me. The best version of you is your most authentic self,
Correct.
right? Again, as I said, things that you're really bad at, just fine tune it enough to not suck at it. See the things you're good at, be great at it, right? People will respect you for your greatness, not what you're mediocre at and whatever.
Yeah.
So be great at something, smoothen out the other really like long poles in the tent,
Yeah.
and find your own method to success. That's what it is.
Got it.
Imagine last thing. Imagine if everyone was like me in the room. Can you imagine the chaos?
Yeah, that's it.
So
That's it.
you need
Yeah, good
a balance of people. If I met someone like me, I'd probably be like, geez, man, this guy talks a lot. I'd probably be put off by it. So, world needs every archetype. I am one, right? Not everyone else needs to be that archetype.
No, fair point. Fair point. You mentioned SaaS Boomi, and I'd love to give a shout out here. The work that you all are doing is phenomenal. I think Avinash has been a mentor for us forever, and for the communities that all of us are building. But one question that always boils down to when senior leaders get involved in communities, you could be spending time on a lot more things, right? Why invest in community building and giving back? All of us have limited time. All of us have 24 hours, right? If not this, you could have been doing something else. And I know your task list has been enough. You have enough things to do. Yet you continue to invest in helping folks around you. how do you, I'd say, justify this internally? And what is the takeaway for more senior people to get involved?
Fantastic.
What has been the wins for you so that they get inspired?
Fantastic. See, Avinash, since you mentioned his name, Avinash's superpower is he sees the greatness in you that you don't see yourself, right? And then once he's seen the greatness and highlighted to you the greatness, he then makes you a volunteer and makes you work 20 hours a week. Okay. So these are his two superpowers. Okay. So when I started and I saw all these founders volunteering their time, making time for us, Girish was building on his way to building a great company, right? I can imagine every day was valuable for him, right? His business was not such that he shows up once a week. Be it Pallav was the first in our group to have built a company of any scale, right? By himself, started at 19, right? True product guy. You have Manav, you have Suresh. Those are the original sort of mentors, right? Many of them were Anish of Capillary, what Krish does today, right? When you see these people, first you learn by example, right? But why do we say be a good example to your kids? Right? Because they see you. I mean, if you're an idiot, you keep cutting lines, they'll be like, that's how the world is. Right? So first is, I've just seen and had the privilege of sitting with those kind of people. And I'm like, come on, I succeeded because of them. Right? How poor a human being would you be if you don't then now pay it forward? Let's say you started a business. I gave you 10,000 rupees. And you set up a shop. Today you have hundreds of shops. And you realize without the 10,000 you could not have set it up. Now if you're a selfish guy who doesn't give you 1 rupee forward, you're a poor human being. My assumption is for the most part you'll be like, look, let me now take 10,000, give it to 10 aspiring entrepreneurs. Right? That's how the world gets to be a better place. Right? So I just believe in that because the karmic cycle goes on. You earn good karma, you make the world a better place. Most human beings, I believe in the goodness of people. They pay it forward, do it. Simple example. 2 caravans ago, Rakesh Patel. How did we discover him? He came as an attendee. He was sitting we saw a circle of people around him. Said, who's this guy? What's going on? Oh, he's talking about SEO. He seems to be incredible. So we said, can you come? Then he came on stage. He did an impromptu session. Between last 2 caravans ago and last caravan, in that period, he went out and helped 45 companies with their SEO strategy. 45. Pro bono on his own. So I asked him, this is all paid for, isn't it? 45 is too much. Like, what do you get? He says, no, I get good karma. He says, you helped me. Many things I would not have figured out. I just want to pay it forward. Even one champion like that emerges, and there are hundreds like that. You already succeeded. So that's number one. You want to pay it forward. Second, I told you about the kindness of strangers, right? Someone co-signed my car lease. The guy had met me once. I mean, imagine you come in, everything is sorted, can't buy a car. I sit here, how do I go to Cisco in San Jose?
Sure.
What, $100 in Uber every day? I mean, game over, right? I'm just saying, the kindness of strangers, professionally, personally, has had such a profound impact on my life, right? Another guy who met me again only once, who happens to be his friend, his name is Vinod Sharma. I came in, he picked me up. First week, dinner every night was at their house. I was alone. Every night dinner at their home. Took me to Costco because they had a Costco card. Got me to shop. You know what I'm saying? So personally, professionally, in the SaaS ecosystem, people have been so helpful. And I realized how impossible the odds were. That for me, maybe I would have still done it. I don't know. But despite these inbound experiences, if I did not pay it forward, I'd be a very poor human being. So I'm just trying to break even on the what do you call, credit and debit section of my karma book. I'm just trying to be even, right? And everyone's got time.
Got it.
Whoever says I don't have time is lying. It's a matter of prioritization. When I say, Suhas, I don't have time, what I mean is I don't have time for you. It's not that I don't have time. Right? For me, this is important. I just feel, so now you ask me a second part question, why should people do it? So if the first part doesn't hold true to you, it's impossible not, right? That people haven't mentored you, helped you, or you look around, unless people have. The second is, let's take the altruism away. Okay, do you believe in India as a product nation? Yes, no. Do you believe that? If you're anyone who's of consequence in tech, these are the best companies. Some of the greatest companies of the next generation are going to come out of this cohort.
100%.
Don't you want access to the finest minds building the best products?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, you can invest in these companies, you can have advisory positions.
Yeah.
Just don't ask for sweat equity. That's all. It's my
Yeah.
personal whatever. Don't be the kind of person who says, I'll advise you and give me equity, right?
Yeah.
You can invest in them, you can whatever, you can be visible by helping them. There's just so many tangible benefits to even if you're very, this is not even selfish, it's a good thing,
True.
right? So whether you think of it materially or from the karma, believing in India, US India, however you look at this, there is time. Now your time could be 1 hour a month, and I know enough people are busy enough.
Yeah.
Someone's maybe an hour a week.
Yeah.
Someone's maybe, look, I'll give you a day once a year, like during the caravan, I'll come.
Uh-huh.
Please, by all means, pick your poison, right?
Yeah.
Please come be involved, volunteer.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great point, I think. Vinny, another interesting thing you mentioned, I got onto the word of FOMO. Our community has a lot of young folks as well. In your journey, you spent a decade on the seas, then, almost 7-8 years building another company before starting up, right? Many of them probably haven't even have half their career, but having like midlife crisis 25, thinking that, hey, we haven't like created a Facebook in our dorm rooms, right? At that end of the spectrum, and then you've had a successful journey post that, right? You entered, if by these terms or these chronology that we see, you entered slightly late. You've had a fairly great run. Any points of advice to them on
I read it somewhere or something. It's not my own philosophy, but I believed in it. Say, look, each person's journey is individual, so never ever benchmark yourself directly against someone. What do I mean by that? Oh, he's so thin, I'd like to be thin. He's rich, he's got this promotion. I join a company, oh, he's grade X, I'm grade X minus 1. Because they've all led different journeys to come to this point. You're taking a moment in time and passing judgment, right? You're living your own journey. So don't superimpose someone else's journey on yours, find your way, oh my God, I'm a failure. Just don't. In your journey, are you happy? Are you fulfilled? Are you learning? Are you moving forward? It's a very hard thing to practice.
Yeah.
It's one thing to emulate someone or be inspired by somebody. It's another to kill yourself saying you haven't done it. Now, the greatest people are insanely restless. I'm assuming Elon Musk today is also thinking, what's the next thing that needs to be solved for, right? So that level of, I'm not getting the word for it, but restlessness is a good thing. Please don't lose it, right? The difference how you channel it. Channel is the fact that you haven't created Facebook in your dorm room, you're already 25, that ship is sailed. You can take that, beat yourself up and get yourself into depression by all means. Or you can say, I want to do the same too, right? Maybe take the vector of 25 away. If you have an idea you can build today, please do it. Great founders have started at 25, right? Or you say, I'm going to learn certain skills, right? And I want to start a startup by 30. I'm going to set a goal for myself to do my own startup by 30. I want to learn these things. I want to shadow the founder. Then go to the founder of, I'm just assuming you're working in a startup. Or a leader, I want to shadow you. I want you to be my mentor. You'd be amazed how few people will say no when you walk up and say, I want you to be a mentor. Give me 30 minutes a month, 1 hour a month. Almost 100% hit rate on that. Okay. Unless he's an ass or you're an ass. And one of the two are validated or both are true. Okay. So I'm just saying, then the good channel is, I want something. Like I want to be a billionaire. Nothing wrong. Please yearn to be. Now you wake up tomorrow morning and say, I bought the Powerball lottery 10 times. I haven't become a billionaire. That's a problem. Or you depress yourself because, oh my God, this random guy from LA became a billionaire with the lottery. What am I going to do? Like, that's the negative channel.
Right.
Positive channel is either you start now, or you know where you want to go, the sacrifice it takes, the learning it takes, the journey it takes, and I will do it. I'll set a goal for myself, right? How you channel that restlessness is what determines. And what do you tangibly do? How many of your friends you've met, and next year I'm going to quit drinking. Or next year I'm going to get on this fitness journey. Or I'm going to start my own business. 5 years later, 10 years later, 15 years later, I haven't embarked. No matter whether you were the first person on Everest or last, or you can climb Everest without your oxygen or in your Crocs, whoever you are, it starts with taking the first step towards Everest. Wherever you're standing, you have to. But if you don't even take that first step, How will you even find out which of those
Things.
personality types you are? So there's a lot of action on doing the right things, right? So channel that energy. FOMO is a great thing. Please channel it the right way.
Definitely.
Channel it the right way. It's very positive. If you use it to beat yourself up, feel bad,
Yeah.
then shortcut to depression.
Oh, that's a great point. Maybe some quick fire ones as we end this.
Let's go.
Vinny, you spoke about range in 10,000 hours. Generalist or specialist, which boat do you want?
I'm a journalist. I'm a born journalist, right?
Okay.
It's who I am. But remember, every time I say I love the book, I've given range to at least 20, 30 people. Remember that I want if I need it, I want my neurosurgeon to be a specialist. So,
Yeah.
just so you know, I'm not, I don't want to find out that my neurosurgeon said, hey, dude, I was actually the best cocktail bartender last month, but I saw this YouTube video and turns out brain surgery is super easy. Okay. I don't want that.
Yeah.
So specialization is required, right?
Yeah.
It's not whatever. But I generally feel it depends on who you are. If you write code, you enjoy writing code, then be the best done coder on the planet. Right now, someone says AI will write all your code. We'll cross that bridge when it comes, right? But I'm just saying, become great what you're good at, right? I'm a generalist. I can't do the same thing for a very long time. That's why I went from fintech to customer experience to AI, right? I need to do different things, right? So pick your poison. The point is pick your poison.
Yeah.
Know who you are. If you truly find, that's why the whole, all your the Star Wars, all the what is Yoda trying to do? It's find out who you are, find out your destiny. Same with the Matrix, right? You are Neo. Forget the dramatization. Life is a constant sort of journey of self-discovery. Who am I? What is my purpose to be here? What am I great at? What will my legacy be? Right? Just find your method.
Got it. When you spent almost a decade at the Seas and just chatting with you backstage, I know you still love it. At any point, did you think this is what my career would look like?
No, not a chance in hell.
Okay.
I wanted to join the army, remember?
Yeah.
Right? So I got through the National Defense Academy. I was all set to join. My call letter was from the Naval Academy. There's a long story with that. And I wanted to be a career army officer. That's literally what I wanted. Saw my dad in uniform all his life. I wanted nothing else. I was not the trappings of money, not. I did have one side part of my mind which was, let's go out and see the world, which is how the Merchant Navy happened. So short answer, no. Like never in my wildest dreams did I think I'll be here for sure. Like,
Okay.
I mean, no one says yes. Of course, I knew I was going to do this.
Yeah,
Maybe
no,
you
for
would,
sure, for
but
sure.
in my case, for sure, like I did
didn't know that.
I did not think I'd be.
Very nice. Vinny, the room that we're recording in, there are at least, I'd say, 20 gadgets around us. If there was a day that you had to spend without any gadget, and I mean, okay, hey, without the internet, what would your 24 hours look like?
In my current mode, I'll probably be shivering for 24 hours
Okay.
because you're so gadget.
That's
But I love to read, and I think gadgets have done an incredible job of killing the reading habit.
fair point. Yeah.
I would spend that time outdoors. I love the outdoors, and I'd read.
Got it.
I think it's
Reading is that
there's
far.
so much, like, just if you see the books in the background here, there's just so much wisdom, so much knowledge. One of my favorite authors is an author called Bill Bryson. And every time I read one of his books, I'm like, man, this is like a lifetime's research. How did you write this in 2 years? Or how long he took to write it? So you've got the condensed extract of the wisdom, research, passions of vast variety of people coming together to you in something that takes you 10, 12 hours to consume.
Yeah.
How much luckier do you need to be in life?
Yeah.
Right? So I'd probably read a lot. Yeah.
Got it. That's fantastic. Vinny, if you could grab dinner with one person from history, who would that be? And
History has to be in the past.
it could be someone living as well.
To be honest, I am truly concerned about the future of the planet. What's happening with AI, change in climate. Some people say we'll destroy the planet. We won't destroy Earth. We'll destroy the probability of it being conducive for our survival. We can't destroy the planet. that planet will destroy the conditions that we need to survive in. So I think about those things. Uh, if you really put all of that together, it's probably Elon Musk,
Okay.
because he's probably the one who's doing something about all of the
Nice.
above. You may like him, you may not. You
That's
don't have to like him. But I don't think there's a greater genius in our time.
Got it.
I just, one is his ideas on some of these out there ideas that I have in my mind. Next is, I struggle to be the CEO of one company or founder, whatever. Like, I
Sure.
mean, even though I say I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I mean, it was so hard that I'm not even starting up a startup again. So
Sure.
for someone to do so many different businesses simultaneously and be great at them, of course he's a genius, but something more than just mental acuity that has to do with this. I'd love to learn what's his method. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Very last one. Not a hard one, but given that you have a lot of founder friends, probably a hard one for you to choose.
Uh-oh.
If there were 3 interesting startups that you're really excited about in 2024, could be from a consumer point of view, it could be portfolio, it could be friends, what would these be?
B2B, B2C.
Either way works.
Should not make me choose, man. It's
I know,
very,
that's
very
why I
hard.
said it's a hard one for you. Just
I
give
will tell you
something.
one thing, the small shameless plug. Once in some channel, Girish was interviewed,
Yeah.
and one startup that you think something,
He said
and he said Cloudcherry. Like, the rest of the day, I was like,
know.
cancel my meetings.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
gonna
So we're
feel
gonna
good
make
about
today
this.
for three founder friends of yours.
Feel
Yeah.
good about it.
It could be undiscovered, it could be early stage, people that's your vantage point as well.
So one of my really dear friends, I think, is building a great company, Arvind, at Super Ops.
To props.
I just think people like me do different things every time. Some people roll up their combined experiences one after the other, after the other, after the other, to say, if I take all of these experiences, what can I be great at? What kind of a company can I build?
Yeah.
What market? So he's building something like that.
Nice.
Right? So I'm really excited about what they're building. Again, scale. We're talking about earlier stage, right? We're talking about
Yeah, preferably, I think.
preferably early. Yeah, because late stage, I mean, someone's
Exactly,
already
yeah.
become great. So there's no. I'm trying to think. So one founder I've gotten to know recently that I really like and I have very high regard is Sanket at InVideo.
Yeah.
I just think he's a fantastic founder.
Nice.
He has the hustle. He's building something really good. He has time to pay it forward to the community.
Absolutely.
His product's doing incredible stuff.
Yeah.
He's been faster than most on the AI bandwagon, right? I just think there's something around dexterity that yields itself to greater outcomes, right?
Yeah.
The other, I think, and again, the one caveat, like I should probably
I
say
know
30
that
names,
caveat is by
because
default.
I work with so many founders,
Yeah,
right? I'm
yeah.
just and for most people watching, like, this was unplanned, right? So
Yeah,
it's here,
exactly.
it's in the moment we're rolling and we're recording, and I'm really 1 hour late
Yeah,
on my
I know,
schedule, so I need to go now.
Yes.
So we're just winging this. There's another founder that I think I really like. It's Kishore of Hyperverge. The reason I say that is, see, very few people have the conviction that I'm building a company for keeps, right? And I just feel that there is something to be said about the kind of founder who's humble, who wants to learn,
True.
and yet knows they're building a company for the long term. I'm not optimizing for short term outcomes, right? That I think is truly special.
Agreed.
I think he's just an incredible founder.
Yeah.
Human being. That said, the problem, when I started getting very involved with the SAS Bhumi Caravan, I actually stopped angel investing.
Okay.
I've stopped, I think, close to 2 years now.
Okay.
I maybe would have cut one check in the last 2 years.
Interesting.
Maybe a couple more. Right? Like, because I said, it's very hard, right? You're with the founders, you're working all the time. Then you're cutting angel checks on the side.
Yeah.
I just didn't want the two worlds to meet. I said, it's
Fair.
okay. We've made the investments have been made. We'll see, right? There are just such great founders I meet on almost a daily basis, right?
Yeah.
If I went through so I have 2 notebooks which are full of notes. If you gave me 1 hour prep time and I'd probably tell you like 50 more names,
I know.
right?
We'll
because the names
dig
are,
deeper into that notebook hopefully in the second one, but I know you're super late into your evening plan, so I won't hold you any
see, I
longer.
also try to stay away from the usual suspects, right? So, for
Yeah.
example,
This is a new one.
Manisha at Sift Hub,
Yeah.
Sri at Rocket Lane, right?
Yeah.
Rajiv at Spendflow.
Yeah.
These are friends. These
I
are
know.
people who I know for a fact will just end up building great companies, right?
True.
I tried to really not bring them in the conversation.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like, oh, here are some of my dearest friends.
Yeah.
This is the startup they're doing. That's the list. I tried to stay away from that.
Yeah, no, we'll help you compile a list of very interesting startups that people should watch out for.
I've also not plugged my portfolio, just so you know.
Yes.
I have not plugged my portfolio because, I've
Yes.
invested in the companies, I've invested in some incredible founders,
Yeah.
right? I've not plugged, know that this list, what I said in my portfolio right now, mutually exclusive.
Yeah, so maybe then we should work on a list that we put out there. Think
can.
that it's very interesting for the community. One-side founders want great talent to work with them. We'll publish something in a separate guest. Given that I know you meet very interesting people on a day-to-day basis. But Vinny, thank you so much for your time today. Today was absolutely awesome. I know we have a ton of other questions we had on a list, and like I told you earlier, this conversation could go on all evening. But really appreciate you spending this time with us, and super excited about everything that's lined up.
Thank you, my friend. Thanks
Thank
for
you so
coming
much.
in.